Hello everybody, my name's James, and for the benefit of those listening back to the audio, you're listening to Ask James, my regular YouTube live stream where I welcome questions from the YouTube community on anything football related. To timestamp this, it is 2 p.m. on Friday, November the 1st. We've got the majority of the team news in, just waiting for a couple more. In terms of headlines, just to bring some of that to you, nothing confirmed on Dwight McNeil. Eze out till after the interlull. Same for Mickey van der Ven. Heung-min Son, we think, has trained today, and as long as he trains okay, tomorrow should be available for Sunday. Chelsea have no new issues. Man City and Bournemouth both have some injury issues going into the weekend, but I don't think anything that's hugely relevant to fantasy. Alexander Isak, a little bit of a doubt on Gabriel. No news as yet. I imagine we'll get some ahead of the 11 a.m. deadline tomorrow morning. For transparency, some of you may have heard on other bits of content I've already recorded this week, but I did buy Rayan Aït-Nouri on Monday for Nedeljkovic of Aston Villa. Leaves me 0.1 million in the bank. I still have one free transfer. I'm unlikely to use it. I'm likely to captain Cole Palmer this game week. Other than that, I've got nothing particularly I want to cover, so I'll get straight into the questions, which I'll cover up till 3 p.m. UK time, and wherever I get up to then, that's where we'll call it quits. FPL Don says, hi James, want to add a third premium midfielder, but I'm concerned that going free cheap forwards is asking for trouble. Yeah, I want you to visualise something. So I spoke about this on, again, I think Monday and yesterday Clayton and James show as well. You could very reasonably on wildcard now go something like Visser, Wood, Jimenez, Cunha, any combination of that, and they're all really good. They're all really good options. But you go to free premium and it's Saka, Salah and Palmer, I guess, under that circumstance. And you get to game week 12 and there's a bit of a fixture turn, things like Wood goes to Arsenal, things like that. And you go, ooh, I kind of want to upgrade one of my forwards. I want to get to Jackson or Isak or Watkins or Havertz. And you can't. Because you're not selling Salah against Southampton, Palmer against Leicester or Saka against Nottingham Forest. You're not doing it, I don't think. So you have to factor that in. It's simple as that. Again, I could completely understand people wanting to have a front three like that at the moment, but that template will move again. You are blocking yourself out of so many good options if you go with three forwards at that valuation. So, of course, I think all of us would love to have three premiums, but there's the trade-off done, and for me, I don't think that's worthwhile personally. James Wright says, hi James, I want to get Salah in. Would you do Haaland and Eze? To Salah and Cunha for -4, or wait a week and do it for free? Cheers. Well, with Eze now ruled out for a couple of weeks, I guess James is a little bit of definitive here in terms of, well, Eze's unavailable for you. The effective -4 comes over your first sub instead. I don't know who that is, but on the face of it, I think, yeah, with Eze's injury, James, I'd be getting it done personally. Again, the usual caveats as always applies when giving any advice on Erling Haaland. He's the most dangerous number 9 in the world. He will kill all of us who don't own at any point, at any time. And you need to have the stomach to be able to take him on every week. It's not easy. So if it's something that really bothers you, don't sell him. But I understand that for many people, the timing now feels right. Look, I've been on this strategy all the way through of not on him. Got kind of killed at the start. It's gone all right lately. There'll be a period where he kills me again, no doubt. On the face of it, James, yes, do it. But the -4 effective becomes like, okay, do you think Salah is better than Haaland captaincy this week? I think it's a flip. I do have a little bit of preference for Mo now, personally. And is Cunha worth the -4 over Eze? Well, yeah, it's going to pay it back in appearances over the next 2 weeks. So I can't give you a reason from that perspective not to just crack on with that aspect of it, mate. House Rave Trance says, hi James, hope you and the family are well. We're all good, thank you mate, I hope yours are too. It's a Cunha or Solanke for 2 weeks only. They would start, then back to Havertz in 12, or keep Havertz. Thanks and keep up the great work. Ooh. I mean, look, I own Dominic Solanke. I've been very clear on this, and it's still the case at the moment that I may well be captaining him in game week 11. But I would not buy a Dominic Solanke at this moment in time. No, really wouldn't. There's no justification on it in terms of what we've seen in terms of output and him even having the opportunities over the last few games. Different if the reason to hold like I've got, there's no reason to buy at this moment. So I think then the conversation becomes, is it worth 2 free transfers to move Havertz to Cunha and then Cunha back to Havertz? I think if it's involving 2 free transfers, arguably not. No, I mean, if Havertz scores in either fixture, it's probably not worthwhile. You probably need Cunha to be getting sort of 3 attacking returns over the 2. And he may well do so, but I don't think we can really truly expect that. So it's probably a stick, actually. If you want Cunha longer term, fine. All I'd say is to consider things like, could you go Havertz to Cunha now and then someone else to Havertz in 12? Like, I don't mind that sort of move. So I'll give you an example. It's unlikely, but I might go, say, Watkins to Cunha next week and then Solanke back to Watkins afterwards, as an example, just to clear it that way. Because I certainly wouldn't sell Solanke next week. Don't mind that sort of move so much, but that also feels like 1 free transfer too many. So I think it's a stick, actually. Nikolai Oatney says, hi James, hope you and fam are good. I've done Solanke to Cunha already. Would you do Foden Salah for -4? Want to captain Mo twice in the next 3? On that basis, then yes, Nikolai, yes I would. Ethan Justin says, hi James, hope you're well. Who's a bigger priority to get in, Cunha or Garnacho? Well, Cunha, I guess, really. It depends what you're selling as well, right? It's not as which player scores more, how long we're measuring it over. Maybe over the next 3 or 4, maybe it's Garnacho. Maybe over the next 7 to 8, maybe it's Cunha. Who's selling? If I was wildcarding, they'd both be going in, personally, at the moment. I just personally, at this moment, don't feel... I'm not selling Solanke with that fixture next week. I've invested in Jackson. Next couple's difficult, but I'm glad he's in place for game week 12 onwards. I don't deem Cunha significantly better than Watkins this week. So at the moment, I intend to sit tight unless Unai Emery is always quite late with his press conferences, gives me something about Watkins that I don't like. Then, I would go and buy Cunha. The answer there lies in what you're selling. There's no real priority to buy Garnacho this week before Chelsea, I don't think. Hasselbank wins his James. Thoughts on Jimmy Fellin, and will we see him in the Premier League? I don't know who that is, mate. I'm sorry, I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't know who that is. Also, which Tottenham player would you gladly ship out in January? Reluctantly and horribly, it's Timo Werner, isn't it? I'm really pleased for him to get the goal in the week. I like him as a human being, as a person. Feel sorry for him quite a bit. Glad that he took the goal well. Less time to think about it. Better reaction. But yeah, that's the answer, isn't it? Sean says, afternoon, James. Couple of benching dilemmas. Start Fabianski or Flecken? I'd start Flappy, mate, actually. Start Mikolenko or Rico Lewis. Cheers, Rico Lewis. I mean, look, Pep has pretty much said, and he might be lying, excuse me, but Pep's pretty much said that he can't drop Rico Lewis at the moment. I also have a little bit of an inkling that he might play in midfield tomorrow. I don't think he will, but he might. And they might go with a more physical 4 and play something like a Kanji or John Stones at right back. I don't think that's improbable, but he's pretty much said he can't drop Lewis at the moment. So, yeah, Lewis. I think, and I've said this for a few weeks, I think tomorrow is really dangerous for Man City. But if I've got the Man City player, I'm playing the Man City player. Juki Frost says, good afternoon, James. Solanke or Wood moving forward? I'm currently on Solanke. Fixtures look better for Solanke over Wood. Keeps putting up the form regardless of fixtures. Thanks. Yeah, again, no consideration for me. Kind of as per covered on Monday's podcast, rewind the clock, you had to bought Chris Wood quite clearly and obviously, but yeah, hit game week 12. I mean, I've actually got Forest bottom my ticket over the next 5. That then looks even worse when you get to sort of like game week 12 and they go to Arsenal. Now, admittedly, Chris Wood might be a captaincy option for you in game week 13 at home to Ipswich. I don't know what the rest of the players you've got is, but I wouldn't be moving Solanke to Wood now. It's of no consideration for me at this moment in time, mate. FPL Developer says, hi James, hope you're good. I am, mate, hope you are too. Damn it, 182 says, hi James, love the midfielders pod recently. So that's the premium mid pod we did last week. It's largely quite relevant, I think. I need to bench one of Johnson, Wood, Watkins, McNeil or Cunha. Thoughts welcome. McNeil, that's the one with your doubt, right? So we haven't got confirmation if he's going to play or not. The forwards there just aren't getting left out as far as I'm concerned. And I'd pick Johnson over McNeil. So the potential there, Villa can obviously play a high line. If they do, there's potential for Johnson to get in behind. So despite Southampton being Everton's opponents, yeah, I'd pick Johnson, mate. FPL developer says, do you think moving Solanke and Foden to Salah captain and Raul Jimenez for free is a good move? Don't mind it. I actually think Raul Jimenez will do really well on Monday night. So in the immediate, yeah, absolutely fine. You've got a couple more good fixtures, and I think that's quite helpful because a lot of people got difficult 12s maybe. You might want to have a think about what an exit plan looks like in game week 13 maybe for Raul Jimenez. But yeah, a decent pickup at the moment. No qualms with that. I'm not going to tell anybody not to get Mo in and captain this week. I can understand the moving of Solanke under this circumstance. There isn't anything for me that would tempt me in that way. Like if I had Foden as well, would I be tempted to make that sort of move? Possibly yes. So just be aware of structure again. So like if Solanke is your most expensive forward, that actually would give me a reason to say don't do it. If you've got something more expensive than Solanke alongside it, then yeah, I'm all cool for it. Adam Cooper says, any concerns of Nkunku and Duran taking minutes off Jackson and Watkins in a busy festive period? Yes, absolutely. And I'm likely to have both is obviously part of my plan. I spoke about this, forgive me, it might have been one of our Patreon podcasts, but I also spoke about it with some of our patrons on Wednesday about Watkins having this run where he's got Brentford and Southampton at home, and it looks great. And in fact, like the fixture at home to Southampton, if those were the fixtures this week, I'd probably be captaining Watkins. So it really, really appeals. But 3 days before that, they've got another difficult game. Forgive me, I forget who it's against. I'll tell you actually. So before Brentford, Southampton, they play Chelsea away. So we've got Chelsea away on a Sunday, Brentford at home on a Wednesday, Southampton at home on a Saturday, and then Leipzig away on the Tuesday in the Champions League. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking Watkins don't start all four of them. And the two, Brentford at home with Southampton, he's not going to start one of them. And I am aware of that. And I know there's a lot of people going to want to buy Ollie Watkins in game week 12. And I understand that as well. I am aware of that. That he's going to miss one of them. So what I would say with him at the moment is I can't plan to captain him. Because in those 2 weeks I would consider him a captaincy option. But I can't plan for him to be the guy that gets that for me. Now, it might be that I land there and it feels safe, but I can't plan it. Can't plan it. Jackson, there wouldn't be a plan to captain because obviously I've got Cole Palmer. And clearly over that period, there probably will be periods. But I also think that with them in the Conference League, and Nkunku's going to continue to get minutes there. Once we hit that sort of beyond period and we head into Boxing Day and stuff like that, yeah, and Nkunku probably is going to start a game over Jackson there. But if you look at, say, Chelsea's fixtures, 18 to 22 as an example, in fact, we can go further than that, can't we? Let's go game week 16, right? Game week 16 onwards, Chelsea's fixtures. Brentford at home, Everton away, Fulham at home, Ipswich away, Palace away, Bournemouth at home, Wolves at home. Yeah, do you know what? Jackson isn't going to start all of them. Who cares? Want him. As long as he's still first choice. Like, if they're going to share minutes, problem. If Nkunku's going to get a start in one of them games now, yeah, sure, fine, cool, whatever. That's kind of the take with Watkins a little bit as well. But the difference with Watkins versus, say, Duran is like Villa have difficult games, say 17 Man City at home, Newcastle away. They've obviously got 3 tough away games in the next 4. There's an awareness of that. I wouldn't want to be without Watkins for the Brentford and Southampton home games in 14-15, but I don't think he starts them both. A little scary. Similarly, Jackson might not start at Southampton game week 14, right? He's a midweek fixture. They play Villa Sunday game week 13, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Then Southampton will be the Wednesday, I think, in 14, then Chelsea. Then Tottenham is away on a Sunday 15. So it might be I got Jackson against Villa, Tottenham, and not against Southampton. Yeah, it's a possibility. I also think Jackson's shown recently, scoring against Newcastle, scoring against at Anfield, in some of the tougher ones. That's why I'm a bit reluctant to get rid of Watkins at this moment as well. I did consider that I could right now go Watkins to Cunha and Saka to Salah. And unless there's a doubt about Ollie Watkins, which I'm no reason to believe there is, I'm not doing it. as it stands at the moment. I'd rather take a little bit more time. Let me just have a check to see if we've got team news yet from Unai Emery. Just having a little check through. Don't think so. A little Manchester City update. Akanji expected to be fine. Vardy needs to be assessed. Savinho's probably a couple of weeks. Walker, Grealish, De Bruyne we're now expecting after the international break. And as I said, obviously Eze out for a couple of weeks. No team news officially from Aston Villa as yet. Next up on questions is... good question, James. A bad one. FPL Dom, thoughts on keeping Watkins long term? Yeah, I think I've just answered that, Dom, so we're going to skip that one, but thank you for the question, mate. Stavros says, hi, James, with 2 frees and deciding to keep Haaland, I'm thinking remove the 2 Dominics and bring Cunha and Darwin, who will be replaced by Jackson after Southampton. What are your thoughts on it? I don't mind Nunes as a punt. Trying to work out who the other... Oh, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, of course. Yeah, I mean, I can see the appeal of that. And I think if you do want to buy Cunha, it's this week or next, isn't it? Like, I might go Cunha next week. It kind of looks like I'm going to hold off probably this week. I really like Darwin Núñez as a punt for the next couple. You might find that you end up going to Jackson in game week 12. And that would feel the ideal time to do it as well with Jackson playing Leicester. Just purely if Jota looks like he might be back for the Southampton game in 12, you might get a little bit nervous about Núñez. But there's no reason to think that Darwin Núñez won't start these next 2 league games. So yeah, I mean that's a great differential with them having 2 home games in my opinion. So yeah, I don't mind it, mate. Martin Fuentes is time to bench Keane. Afraid Braithwaite will take his spot. My other option would be to play Pau Torres against you guys, but I'd rather play Kane. Yep, I get that. Worth saying Pau Torres scored in the fixture last season, headed goal from a set play, and as you know, Tottenham are very good at defending set plays. So it won't be the worst thing in the world if that's what you end up with. I suspect that Braithwaite probably will come back into the team. I'd also give you the caveat that if McNeil is out as well, I don't think it's impossible that Everton play a back 5, and in which case Braithwaite and Keane would both play this weekend. So I would probably go with Kane rather than Torres and keep your fingers crossed. But my instinct would be that he probably doesn't start. James Stecker says, hi James, question for you. Free transfers. Trent, Diblin, Solanke out. Anderson, Saka, Larson in. This would give me Salah, Palmer, Saka and Watkins. Cheers. Yeah, look, like that kind of setup. It seems like an interesting time to buy a Saka with Newcastle away and Chelsea away. Like, is there an aspect of that can wait? Moving Diblin on. A decent fixture this week. Yeah, it feels like something I probably wouldn't be rushing through. Almost, like, I get it, he's close. But you've got Salah in place, you've got Palmer in place, you've obviously got Watkins in place. I'm just wondering if the move to Saka can be done as part of 5 free transfers in game week 12. At the face of it, James, probably not at this moment. Jamie Hayes says, let's go. Hit that like button, boys and girls. Yeah, if you could smash a like, hit the subscribe button. Reviews for those listening to the audio go a really long way, guys. It would be hugely appreciated. Uros Milicevic says, sell Solanke or keep Faith for the next 2 weeks. Covered, so I'm going to skip off Uros. I've been really clear on this for a while. I certainly have plans to sell Solanke in 12, and I'm not wedded to him. But it's particularly important for me, like I said, because I really might be captaining him in game week 11. From the fantasy perspective, not that I'd want him to blank for Tottenham this weekend. Of course, I don't want him to score. But I will be the only person in the world captain him next week if he blanks this week, I think. I quite like that. People can laugh at me afterwards, that's fine. Charlie Toast says, hi James, loving your strategy this year. What do you think of Haaland, Johnson, Smith-Rowe and Porro out? Palmer, Salah, Aitnori and Cunha in from -4 would allow me to keep Saka. Again, no. So look, the 4 players that you're all selling all have good games this week, and in Johnson and Porro's case, an even better fixture next week, right? I think there'll be goals in that Fulham Brentford game Monday night. Haaland is still Haaland. I totally get the will and want, particularly for Cole Palmer and Mo Salah. I get it. I don't think it requires all those transfers. I also get that Wolves players you want to attack now as well. So I'm trying to work around that. Like, can you go Porro to 8 Nori now? And if you really want to get rid of, I mean, Solanke's got Haaland to Cunha, isn't it? See, the thing with this is as well, Charlie, what I can't see there is, again, like, if Cunha's going to be your most expensive forward, I'm really nervous about that for people and their structures moving forward. Having Palmer, Salah and Saka together sounds absolutely great. You're going to find it really difficult to sell all them 3 players at the point that you may want more expensive forwards. And I don't like it. I don't like it. This doesn't mean it's wrong. I don't like it from a structure perspective. Joel Stockdale says, hi James, looking at doing Haaland and dibbling to Cunha and Salah. Had Salah 2 weeks ago and moved to the robot. Now I want to go back. Is it too soon to reverse my moves? Cheers. No, look, you went Haaland for Wolves and Southampton. It's not worked out as you'd hoped. You've been unlucky. Obviously in the Southampton game, that goes without saying. But that's okay. I get it. Again, consider structure, but you're really just moving here between 2 big premium players. Your other replacement is a better option in Cunha as well. So, yeah, it's fun. Uros says, favourite cheap forward to buy this week? I mean, look, if I was selling Solanke, for example, this way, I would be buying Cunha. I do think that Raul Jimenez might have a really good game week. I think he might even be in the top 5 for captaincy for me this week, Raul Jimenez. But I would be investing in Cunha because of the timing and looking at that as a really long-term option. That's been set for me all week, that if I lost any of my forwards through injuries, whichever one, I would be buying Matthias Cunha. So that would be the one for me. Kim says, hi James, how do you assess losing Rodgers as part of a Salah move? Bought Rodgers at 5.0 and think he could be a great long-term 5th mid. Yes, of course he could. But what's your priority on that? Like, yeah, of course you've got value in it. Do we think Rodgers is likely to do what Palmer did last year? And I don't mean in terms of returns, obviously, clearly not. But I mean in terms of that value growth, right? If you knew he was going to get 6 million, if I told you that now, you just wouldn't sell, right? I suspect probably not. It might have tipped out at as good as it could be. And there are other options that might show themselves further down the line at cheaper, right? Such as Tyler Diblin, maybe later in the season, a Mikey Moore or an Ethan Nwaneri, for example. Something that's really cheap in that midfield area. And there's other options that are quite close in that price bracket. There are people underneath, some have got like a Adama Traore, maybe like a Keane Lewis Potter will step up. Fabio Borges, which is Forbes now, isn't it? At Wolves, I think will come back into the team tomorrow. So there'd be other options in that price bracket, even if we can't see them now. So I certainly wouldn't be wedded to keeping Rodgers if it stops you from getting Salah. Let me sell it to you that way. Matt Lackin says, hey James, hope you're well. How do you rank the cheaper forwards for the next 10 weeks? And Matt's naming Cunha, Raul Jimenez, Jackson, Vissel, Wood. For me, comfortably Jackson first. We're looking at this longer period, 10 weeks, up to game week 20. Comfortably Jackson. Cunha next, I think. Really good run up to sort of like game week 17-ish. So then Cunha. I'd probably go Wood ahead of Vissa and Jimenez. Just on clear talismanic status and not with the threat of someone behind at the moment. So I feel like with Jimenez, although, like I said, I think they'll have a really good week, it would only take sort of 2-3 blanks and Muniz might take his place, right? Doesn't feel like that way with Wood at the moment, as Almini is a threat. And similarly with Vissa, there is the unknown threat of Thiago, who's back in training. And none of us know what that looks like at the moment. So, like, short term, no concern on Vissa, none whatsoever, not in the next couple. But if you're asking over that time range and that period in December, like what impacted, Thiago is back in training now, not close to playing, he won't play this weekend. That is going to become a threat quite soon, though, and that's a natural number 9. It's essentially the Ivan Toney replacement, right? And it'll obviously take him a while to get up to speed. That is obviously a threat to Joran Vissa that most people can't see or may not even be aware of at this moment. It's not to put anybody off Vissa at all, but you're asking over 10 weeks. So it probably puts Vissa last on that. That said, over the shorter term, like over the next 4 specifically, probably Jackson then Vissa, for example. So please don't discount Vissa from your thinking. If you're looking that far, Jackson, and then I think Cunha will carry you a long way of that. Uros's favourite cheap defender to buy this week. It would be rude not to say Ray and 8 Norrie, wouldn't it? Is that still cheap at 4.6? If you need cheaper, Mikalenko will cover you nicely for a number of the upcoming fixtures. Joachim Anderson as an alternative, 4.3, decent for the next 3. It's worth saying with Fulham, there's a more difficult December period, but then from January onwards, really nice fixtures again. If you're buying Anderson, it's probably not a short-term investment. You probably are looking longer term. I think Palace defenders even maybe onto radar a little bit. I think Bournemouth defenders from next week might even be quite interesting. Majority of them are now sort of 4.4. And also we'll be looking at Manchester United and Chelsea players, I think, defensively from Chelsea, maybe not next week, the week after, but Manchester United, there's going to be talk about Dalot, for example, next week. Preempting that sort of thing in your mind now. But it would be 8 Norrie, then for me, probably Anderson. If I had to go and get a 4.0, if you're looking that far down, Sepp Vandenberg at this moment. Not that I ever fancy Brentford for a clean sheet as it stands. Kim says, hi James, how do you assess... I've done that one. What's wrong with me? Hanny says, please rank 6.6 strikers and below. Yeah, I've just done that, Hanny, but thank you for your question, mate. Josh Tellin says, afternoon, James. Hope you will get the Haaland Salah... I know you will get the Haaland Salah switch with 2 free transfers question. Lots of apologies. Fair enough. I just want to know, if I do it, would you lose Smith Rowe or Semenyo for Salah? Thanks, mate. Tough. Really tough. Because, again, I think Smith Rowe could have a really good week. I wouldn't want to be selling any offensive asset when it's playing Brentford at the moment. But I think Antoine Semenyo has a really good run starting from next week. I'd sell Smith Rowe, I think. But you might have to suffer, think of it as a 1 step back for a 2 forward, maybe. Matthew Wilkes says, hey James, hope all is well. Not really FPL related, but views on who is more likely to win this week out of Leicester and Everton. Got a big decision to make in my last man standing. Okay. Everton, I think. As per kind of chooses clash to correspondence, really big game for Ipswich this weekend, and I think they might nick it. Fatu, by the way, is probably unexpected to play for Leicester. Another one from a team news perspective. I don't suppose many people are on him, but it might be relevant for those who are on Mavadivi. Shout out FPL Harry. I know you're still there, mate. You're going to sell him though, aren't you? He's going to go off this weekend, buddy. Probably Everton. Sean Dyche's record. Tag at Spirit Blows, our Everton correspondent. He'll share some good stats with you. Sean Dyche record as Everton manager against teams below them in the league is, you would expect teams to beat teams below them in the league, but he's really strong. It's like 9 wins out of 12 or something like that. So Everton, mate. Mustafa Gaming says, hi James, would you transfer out any of Solanke, Calvert-Lewin or Watkins, and what are your thoughts on Son, and would you captain him against Villa if he was declared fit to start? Have no Salah or Haaland. Cheers. If I had Heung-min Son, would I captain him this week over Cole Palmer? Probably not. It would be a little bit similar to my thinking against West Ham that he's not going to be 90 minutes. I think there's a chance we sit here this time next week and Son's best captaincy option possibly for game week 11. And it's another good reason not to dive into the transfers for me now, that I might do that next week. Would I sell Watkins? No, it's against my team, still a good fixture. Solanke I've spoken about next week, but I get the frustrations. DCL, I'd be moving that on. I think he's been really unlucky. The underline's good, but historically his underline's been good as well. And when I say historically, I'm talking about his whole career, as in his underperformance. He's always underperformed XG. Yeah, I think there's enough other good options. I'd be moving Calvert-Lewin on personally. In terms of Son captain this week, I think I'd still be on Palmer. There's loads I would consider better. Palmer, Salah, Haaland, obviously. As I said, I think Raul Jimenez going to be on radar in terms of near the top of my captaincy this week, I think. Yeah, I'm really into the idea of, although I've got Boomer, he's been brilliant for me, and he's not going anywhere, obviously, clearly. I like the idea of attacking them as a weak defensive unit at the moment that will concede goals. Greg Frost says, hi James, is Raul, Jimenez, Jackson, Cunha the meta forward line moving forward? I have no idea. Do I even look like I know what meta means, Greg? He says, considering how well Raul Jimenez rotates with Bumo, what we rotating Bumo for, mate? What, because Bumo's got tough fixtures? Bumo don't have tough fixtures, mate. It's a talisman. Good luck at those moments you bench Bumo. If you're concerned about Bumo's fixtures from game week 14 onwards, sell him for Jared Bowen, mate. He says, with a cheap defence, it also allows Son, Palmer, Saka and Salah as the other mids. I mean, good luck with that, mate. Again, you know, when Arsenal start putting back-to-back clean sheets together, or you want Trent back, or Porro starts hitting some form, or City and Vardy start doing really well, again, you know, you want to keep one in and around that rather than just going cheap. And I know what you're saying, and we spoke about, is a real temptation at the moment if you're on wildcard to go really heavy in midfield, just cheap out the rest. That template will change, I'm certain of it. I'm just struck by the idea of rotating Bumo, Greg. Bumo plays, mate. There's the case, and you got things like City away, sure. Otherwise, he plays, mate. You should have scored at City as well. Stanjan 1983 says, hi, who's better player to keep for the next 5 game weeks? Havertz or Watkins? I want transfer out one of them, thanks. Over the next 5, I've got both of those two teams in the bottom 5 on my ticker. I've got Villa slightly better off, but that includes the 5th game being for Watkins, Brentford at home, and I've just said it's a rotation risk. I feel like I'd rather be in a position where if you're in a position where it becomes a concern with Watkins, you downgrade him to anyone, right? If you want to go back to Watkins, problem. Sensible answer there is to say keep Watkins, mate. Woodstock Chris is just a huge thank you, James. I'm now Haalandless. Sorry, Chris. Listen to me. I mean this seriously. Next 4 are real got challenges and are sticky for City, I think. City could lose any of them next 4 games, honestly. Bournemouth, Brighton, even against my team in 12. Although it's still great for Haaland. And then obviously Liverpool in 13. Then there's a better run. Do not be surprised if he does extremely well. What's everyone going to do if Haaland gets a hat-trick tomorrow? This is me every week without him. It's like just accepting it and not being swayed by the what might happen. As it wasn't when he was obviously going off really big at the start. You know, if Haaland gets 3 or 4 tomorrow, oh shit, he's back on it, I've got to get him back in. I ain't buying him back. Now, I'm not saying never. Game week 14, again, we'll look at that run for Haaland building up towards Christmas. I'll have another look from there. There's nothing that he does that hits. So, you accept the punishment, right? But know that he does do well. The payoff with Haaland not having him is know that he will do well. Right? This is a guy who's got 11 goals. I remind you, 11 goals in 9 league games. Right? He is on course for more than 40 Premier League goals this season. You know he's going to return. Accept it. I wish you luck, Chris. I don't really care what he does as long as he blanks in game week 12, personally. Did G07 says, forward line of Haaland, Jackson, DCL with 1.5 million in the bank. Would you do DCL to Cunha this week or wait until next? I'd get it done. I also think like this. I don't know what your value situation is. You might have spare money in the bank, in which case there's no need to rush it. But Calvert-Lewin banks this week against Southampton. If he does, then it's Exodus. Definitely. Okay. Matthias Cunha is going to get bought going into next week, whatever he does tomorrow. And I'd want to be ahead of it, ideally. Now, I've made the decision not to, right? But it feels a little bit different for me. Like for me, I'd be selling Watkins to go there. Little different. Abdul Hamid says, best Eze replacement, plans a wildcard game with 12. Okay, so you're just looking next 2. I mean, if you can get the Boomo and you ain't got Boomo, then straightforward. Otherwise, I to be honest, I think with the 2 home games, possibly Brennan Johnson. Actually, I know there'll be a few frustrated Johnson owners, but yeah, over the next 2, yeah, maybe. Can't go McNeil's too much fear. Forbes can't buy yet. Someone to watch, but you can't buy yet. Failing that, it's a Fulham player, isn't it? Yeah, next week maybe Garnash doesn't really appeal this. I think over the 2 weeks Johnson. I think, yeah. If you can do that, you should be able. You must be able to do that. I'm sure. Next up, Yahya Fazani says, hello James, I have 2 free transfers. And I can do Haaland, Semenyo to Jackson, Salah. Thoughts? Quite high on the Nicholas Jackson train, as you know. But I was really keen to get it done last week before Newcastle rather than now United away and Arsenal at home. Said Semenyo, good fixtures from next week as well. This again, it just boils down to really how do you. I mean, on the face of it's fine, yeah. You know, how do you feel about the no Haaland thing? Really, you can do, but do you want to do? I'm quite consistent on this, like in terms of telling people to sell Haaland. Not really comfortable to do because of how dangerous he is. Do you think you can do it? Just think emotionally. That's the big thing. It doesn't bother me, right? I don't worry about it over the weekend. If you're the sort of person who does, I think it's close enough. I probably wouldn't do it right now, personally. I'd just wait. Darren Jenkins says Palmer, Haaland, or a gamble on Wood captaincy this week. I mean, from that, Darren, I'd still be captain Haaland. I don't think Salah, Haaland, and then Palmer. I think that order would all certainly be in my top 10 as well. Mustafa Gaming, haven't checked any team news prior to the stream. I have. You might not have. Let's now you've mentioned it. Now let's see if we've potentially got anything else in. I was waiting on Villa. We're pretty much fully fit squad at the moment. Andreas Pereira, minor doubt for Fulham, should be okay. Lukic obviously still out. Daro Shea doubt for Ipswich. Ben Johnson fit. Ogbene is obviously really unfortunately had surgery on his Achilles tear, could miss the rest of the season. I've not seen anything on Aston Villa reported, even though I think Unai Emery's press conference was scheduled earlier today. We'll try and have another look before we finish the stream. Roseanne Fleur says, what motivates you to play FPL? Winning mini leagues among friends, or winning FPL, or getting the top 100k rank? For me individually, if I just remove the content and all that, like I'm aiming for first. I said that in pre-season, is the first time I said it. Influenced by the loss of Sky Fantasy Football as a game, it's not that important to me, Rose. I'm not going to pretend different. Nearly everybody asking questions in this stream probably cares about FPL more than I do. For me, the priority is the content. But for me personally, my team, I will. The people who are friends with me, I will always beat them. Not because I'm a super FPL manager, just because they're shit. So it doesn't. I couldn't really afford to probably lose to them, but I also know that I won't. Because they'll finish like in the millions and stuff. It's not a problem. So the motivation is the overall, I suppose. I suppose as content creators, we are judged on the overall, but I don't think if you're here watching this stream now, or listening back to the audio, you're probably not doing it because of my historical FPL rank. You're doing it because you like the content, I guess. Because I don't think I think people come for the information and then make their own decisions. That's all I'll always sell it is. I'll provide the information as best I can. It's up to everybody else to make their own decisions. No one's looking at me as a expert, right? If you're new around here, sorry to disappoint you. Sam McClear says, afternoon James, happy Friday. Contemplating 4 free transfers. Haaland, Solanke, Gordon, Rogers, 2. Cunha, Jimenez, Palmer, Salah, thoughts. I mean, look, for 4 frays, yeah, I can't really give you any real reason to say no on that, Sam. Seems fine. Again, just check on your structure of the forwards. That's it. But in terms of the moves, yeah, he looks good, mate. Demetrius G says, wildcarding in game week 12, considering Darwin over Cunha as a 2-week punt. Am I an idiot? No. No. I think it's perfectly reasonable, mate. You got the number 9 for Liverpool or basically the number 10 for Wolves. And I tell you what, you just sell it like that. It's by Nunes, isn't it? Irrespective of the fixtures. John, no, it's fine. If that's your preference, mate, crack on. Joe Briggs says, hi James, did Haaland to Cunha, Smith Road, Salah last night? Thoughts? Yeah, because everybody knows. I really love giving my thoughts to people who've already gone through with transfers. Like, yeah, I've done this so many times. You made your decisions, mate. It's actually irrelevant at this point what I think. Other than say, yeah, okay, it's fine. I wish you the very best of luck, mate. FPL Cockney Red says, hi James, do I sell? And then there's no one. Barry Johnson says, hi James, who are your favourite 3 defenders 4.5 below for the next 2 game weeks only? Next 2 game weeks only, 4.5 or below, I'll say Craig Dawson and Joachim Anderson for the next 2. Dijit says, good afternoon James, hope you're well. If you're out and about at lunchtime and forgotten to take lunch, what's your go-to meal deal choices from Tesco, Boots, etc., main, snack and drink? So I actually had a discussion with Suj very recently. Actually, I've become a bit of a snob in Tesco. I've started doing the £5 meal deal. I know he's not giving me a pay rise. Just the quality of the sandwiches is just so much better. And then I like to get, you know, like the Starbucks frappuccinos, because I just love flashing it up where it's like you get the sandwich and then you get your bag of crisps and then that's like, I don't know, £4.80 or something, and the deal's £5. I just love flashing that up, and it only cost me like 20p or something. The small victories in life. I just love doing that, knowing that this drink really is costing me it should be about £3 and I'm getting it for about 20p. I do love that. Even though I do drink a lot of water actually as well. Sometimes I treat myself to one of them. Mad Shook says, hey James, thoughts on Solanke and the Haaland, Cunha, Rogers, Salah move? We've got 5 different players there, Madge, so I really don't know how to approach that, mate. Hanzo Hasashi says, evening James, hope you're doing well, mate. Thoughts on Watkins versus Jackson from game which you're leaning Jackson due to X-Mins and price difference. Cheers. Well, unless I sell Watkins next week, and you don't think I will, then they're both with me, right? I can't check that what I've said about Watkins, and I do think the long term, I think Jackson really could become a template player here, and I think people will keep overlooking him quite a while because they already have Cole Palmer. That fixture run for Chelsea from game week 12 to game week 28 is quite remarkable. Jackson for me, but yeah, you know, as someone said earlier, threat of Nkunku's there, and Nkunku's dynamite. If he plays, he'll score goals. If Jackson got injured, I'd probably go and buy Nkunku nearly straight away. I think it'd be such high priority for me. Bang, gosh, gone. Jackson for me, mate. Tom Reynolds says, hi James, Salah and Trent coming in this week for me. I seem to see more people selling Trent than buying, so that's interesting. Should I try and keep Gabriel as well? Not sure the upside is worth limiting my ability to get to Havertz or Jackson from 12. But yeah, you could, if you want to flip that about, you can make that decision then, right? Probably, if you're unsure, I'd just take a moment to breathe with Gabriel. You could always still downgrade that next week and then get up to one of the other guys in game week 12. Cockney Reds is back, says, hi James, would you sell Haaland, Eze for Salah, Cunha? I think I've covered that, and I think I said yeah, probably. Actually, what I would do and what I advise others to do is often 2 different things. For me, yes, I would do it. Big Lou says, hi James, hope you're well, mate. This is start 2 of Smith Rowe, Rogers, Garnacho. Garnacho and Smith Rowe for me, actually, the 2 lads with the home games for me this week. Chris Briggs says, hi James, no question, just want to say keep smashing the content, everyone hit the like button. Thank you, Chris. Hope you have a good weekend. For those who want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl, where you will receive no expertise FPL advice, but you can support the show. Actually, yeah, it's some good FPL stuff there as well. And some Pearson says Shimika's a short term before wildcard 12. I think Shimika starts this weekend. I think a lot of others have clocked that as well. But then if he starts against Villa in game week 11, mate, it's a no for me, mate. No. I just sit back, and you're 2 weeks away from wildcard. Where do you want to be punting? Defensively or offensively? Right, if I'm in a 2 week punt stage, unless I've got problems defensively, and I recognise that you might do, I really want to be taking my punts at the top end. You know, like someone said earlier, Darwin Núñez. I want to punt something at the top end. Confussel says, any advice to someone with a rank of 3 million plus? I want to climb, but realise being too template will just keep me where I am, but I don't want to take silly risks and fall further. There is nothing wrong, with that rank at this stage. We are, just over a quarter of the way through? 3 quarters ago, right? Blanks, doubles, all that jazz. You soon climb from now. Be many good FPL managers at that rank at this stage. They're certainly not trumpet up my bum for where I am. You could still beat me this year, for example, mate. There's also nothing wrong with being close to that template. In fact, I'd almost recommend it. I had a question either last week or the week before was really interesting. Asked me about Haaland, and if I was ranked sort of like where you are, would I have bought him ahead of game week 8? And I came to the conclusion probably yes. So I might not be the right person to answer this question. But there is a very, very simple answer that I can give you. And this doesn't really matter if you're 3,000 or 3 million, mate. Get as many bloody points as you can, which is old Johnny Virgo quote about pot as many balls as you can on Big Break. Who remembers Big Break back on a Saturday? God, what happened to Saturday night television? Get as many points as you can, mate. Genuinely. Very simple. And don't overthink it. Also, at that rank, there are so many people ahead of you who are shits managers. It's not say it's anybody in there. I'm just telling you, there's loads of people who will drop off. There are people now who are in like the top 100k, and their teams are looking, they're going to go dead soon and stuff, right? So you will climb. You will climb. No doubt about it. Target the points. Don't overthink it. Play it your way is the most important thing. Don't do what I tell you or someone else tells you. But I don't think you have to move too far from the template. The thing is, let's just say you're sitting there and you got Salah and your Palmer and I want to do something different. Players like that are probably still going to kill you, mate, and then it can get worse. So don't be too frightened to be near it. There's a couple of ways it can go, right? You can either rise quickly, and I've seen that. I shout out one of our patrons, Sham, right? He went from, this is genuinely true, he's gone from 3 million to 100k in 3 weeks, mate. And I promise you, this is honestly true, and Sham will back me on this. He sent me a message 4 weeks ago with his team, and honestly, I said to him, I'd like to put a nuke for it, because his team looks so shit. 4 weeks later, he's 100k, mate. So there you go. So you can jump really fast, potentially. Now, a few things gone his way, like he went against Haaland, etc., etc. But if you're close to that template, it just means the rises come a bit shorter, but you probably go 2.5 million, 2 million, etc. But it'd probably be more consistent in terms of the green arrows. So I think it's fine to be near the template, mate. Most important thing, genuinely, is that you enjoy it. Enjoy the game, play it your way. Charlie Zara says, hi James, would you take Maddison out ahead of these next two? Original plan was to transfer out in game week 12. Plan would be to take Haaland out for Vissa and upgrade Maddison to Salah. Yeah, again, I'd be doing that. But structure, just consider. Charlie Reaper says, hi James, who is your favourite footballer at the moment? Good luck. My favourite footballer at the moment? What a question. Wow. Sorry, terrible for the audio. My favourite footballer at the moment. At this minute in time is possibly Dejan Kulusevski. I was also thinking about saying I do love Pedro Porro. I mean, my favourite players are the Tottenham players, right? I think you've laced that as a question in terms of other clubs. He plays for a semi-rival, so I'm kind of loath to say Cole Palmer, but yeah. I mean, watching Vinicius Jr. against Dortmund was breathtaking as well. I don't get to watch enough of the other leagues around Europe to truly comment and say, oh, I've got a favourite there or whatever. I think if he didn't play for Chelsea, and I was just purely neutral about it, I would probably say Cole Palmer in the league. But my favourite players are Tottenham players, so it's probably Mickey van der Ven, Pedro Porro, Dan Kulusevski at the moment. Dom. Ask me in 2 weeks, and if I say Dominic Solanke, it's because I've had a really good game week 11. Neil Kager says, join late. Thanks, James. Hit the like. For Pete's sake, people. Cheers, mate. Have a good weekend, Neil. Thank you, buddy. Eddie R says, hey, James, free transfers. Would you do Haaland and Semenyo, Cunha and Salah? Again, for me, yes. He says, if I make the moves, I'll be benching Rodgers. Would then most likely get Haaland back 14 or 18. Cheers. You've got your plan, Eddie. You crack on. Also, defensive question at the moment. I have Gabriel, Trent and Lewis starting with Vandenberg first bench. Would you bring in Aït-Nouri for Greaves? If so, who would you bench for him? Cheers. Well, I guess this is a little bit like the move that I made. So, at the time, and I'm not going to promise that I'll do this, I'll have made my mind up by the morning. I've got Gabriel on the bench at the moment. I'm going to play Aït-Nouri, Porro and Trent over. I think that the flag, and I do think he probably plays, but the flag and just Clayton summed it up quite well on our Patreon podcast this morning. He said, yeah, you know, that's vibes, those defensive threat. Trent, Porro, Aït-Nouri, kind of like what I said to your guy at 3 minutes. Enjoy the game. That's a vibes back three, isn't it, for shits and giggles. I don't think any team keeps a clean sheet this weekend, by the way, so like, why not? So I'd brought him in without knowing the Gabriel situation on Monday to fix the Nedeljkovic problem, because even if I didn't fix it now, it was something going in towards Christmas I was going to have to fix, and Aït-Nouri kind of takes me up to Christmas, right? And I don't feel obliged to play him because I've bought him. I genuinely might, even having bought him, I might still bench him. So I guess off that, I probably would bench Gabriel, but those who listen to these streams regularly will know I don't like doing that. But I wouldn't want to bench Lewis, even though I think City might be in trouble this weekend. Trent is just a no-no to bench. And I probably would just about go Aït-Nouri over Gabriel. But I have to be honest, I haven't definitively decided that for myself. And I may well change my mind by tomorrow morning. Greg Frost says, drop a like on the video, share with your other like-minded individuals. Greg, they don't want to share it, mate. They're too worried that other people will pick up this knowledge stuff, mate. No, please share it with your friends. Spread the Planet FPL love, be hugely appreciated. Joel Taraglia, says, hey mate, love the work. I've got Savio up to Saka. Wonder if I should do Trent or Gabriel down to Aït-Nouri. Have Raya in goal. Lean towards Gabby. Thanks, mate. Yeah, one of the reasons I went Nedeljkovic to Aït-Nouri was I didn't want to cut myself from Gabriel yet. Gabriel's is gonna look like a great option from game week 12 onwards, I think. So yeah, I'm pretty keen to keep him personally, mate. So it would be a no. Kasim Arshad says, I'm not reading your wildcard team, mate. My only suggestion is play it your way and very best of luck. Cherie MC says, hi James, is a hit for defender worth it if my third defender is Robertson, Keane and Greaves? This is interesting because this is a discussion we had on our Patreon podcast this morning as well. Very similar scenario to that. Where the other defenders were Van der Ven and Calafiore, who are obviously both injured. It's similar. We were like, yeah, it probably is. We justified that Aït-Nouri would pay it over time. So, yeah. I'm going to say yeah. But it won't feel right benching Robertson this week. But I think many of us do think Shimikas probably starts. Right, last one's going to go to Clem Williams. Excuse me. It says Kulusevski, Saka, Foden, Bumo, Haaland, Wood, Raul Jimenez. 1 free transfer. You think anyone needs transferring? Also, fancy going against Haaland for captaincy. What do you think? I mean, you haven't mentioned a midfielder there, so I'm presuming that's Salah. So if it is, then yeah, I think Salah is now top pick for captaincy this week. Look, Foden is now, I don't want to say nailed on for minutes, but it looks safe. As mentioned in the start of the stream, I don't think it's impossible that Lewis plays in a really advanced position tomorrow. But you could sell Foden now, couldn't you? Saka you'll want to come back to. I don't think Kulusevski really is a long-term pick, personally. But, again, next two, pretty decent. Front three's fine. Nah, as you are, I think, Clem. Perfectly reasonable. And rolling is powerful, guys. It is. I want to get to a position where I can get the 5-3 transfers. Not now, but once we've got beyond game week 12, I want to start building that total. In the immediate, the fixtures aren't good enough to enable that sort of thing. But I think it's going to become a thing once we get beyond game week 12. I'll leave it there, guys. Sorry to those of you I haven't got to questions. If you want to tag me on Twitter, you can find me at Planet FPL Pod. Feel free to tag me there and ask your questions. And I promise you, if it's before the end of today, I will answer your question. If you tag me and I don't answer it, it's because I've probably muted you. So tell someone to tell me that I've muted you, and then I'll probably explain to you why you've been muted. It's probably a good reason. Don't slide in my DMs. I promise you. If you aren't already in my DMs and you DM me, I don't even read your messages. If there's anything FPL related, I just delete them. So stop doing it. It's the same every week. Doesn't matter how many times I say it. It's like, okay, and you didn't listen to the stream this week. So, okay, how much do you really value the opinions? So, yeah, tag me on Twitter. I will get to it. The problem with the DMs is, unfortunately, too many people just abuse it and think it's a gateway to ask me questions every single week. And you know what? That's what I got a Patreon for. So if you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl, where the patrons can DM me night and day, should they wish to do so. What's still to come? Team news stream for advanced tier patrons at 5 PM today. Deadline stream for all of you on YouTube, 10 AM tomorrow morning. As a note for Ask James next week, it will be on Wednesday next week. Little change to the schedule. That's because Clayton is going to be in Milan next week for the Champions League game. And so we're going to do the Clayton and James show on Friday next week. So Ask James next week, one off is going to be midweek. Ask James. Again, if you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Just leaves me to say, for everyone on YouTube, smash a like, hit the sub button, be nice to each other, everyone, play it your way. And for the benefit of those on the audio, cue music, please. Manchild.